Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is out in theaters now. Tom Cruise is back playing Ethan Hunt. You also have Benji and Luther and Paris and Grace and a few other familiar faces from years past. You have thrills, you have suspense, you have the action sequences and choreography and stunt work that you've known to love over the years. Watching this almost 30-year-long saga of Mission Impossible movies. But is this movie the epic grand finale that we have expected from Tom Cruise, with all the hype surrounding this final 8th part? This is going to be a spoiler-filled review, so let's dive into the top 7 things I hated about this movie. I'm pretty sure most of you are going to totally agree with me on number 2 and number 1. Number 7, expositions galore. This movie is laden with expositions. I'm talking about where all the characters come together to explain what's happening, what's going to happen next, whereas typically in a movie, you can just gather this information from watching the actions from the stars on screen, from their characters, and where they're going and how they are doing a scene in a certain way. You can kind of get a feel for where the scene is headed without them telling you point blank where this is going. Well, in this movie, there are just a bunch of expositions just back to back to back to back to back, where they just jump around talking about, well, now we're doing this because this is happening, and now we have to go here because this is happening. And when you're watching this movie straight through, it really kind of takes you out of the action and really just understanding the fact that you are watching a movie and not a documentary on a movie in front of you. Number 6, AI and weak villains overall. Rolling over from the last movie is The Entity, which is an all-powerful AI that is trying to take over the world via the nuclear arsenals of the superpowers. And it wants to basically hold the world hostage and then eventually just destroy the world and then just hide out in a doomsday bunker in South Africa. It just seems to be kind of far-fetched. Like, what is its reasoning? It never really explains. It could be a generic reason, like, oh, it sees humanity as a poison and it's destroying itself. And we've seen this time and time and time again. It's almost like it's just written by AI at this point. And don't get me started on Gabriel. That guy, typically, if you see like a 007 villain or some of the villains from past, think about Philip Seymour Hoffman, just masterclass villainry. Gabriel is the most generic villain in any of the movies, and probably any action movie I've seen in recent times. He's just a mustache twirling villain who has a grievance to take over the world and own the AI entity and run the thing and then rule the planet as king of Earth, and then get beat up and killed on a plane and fall off the plane when he had a sidearm on the entire time. He could have just ended this thing. It was the strangest action sequence for him, and his overall villain arc over the last 2 movies, I think, fell flat. Kind of like him hitting the ground in that canyon. Number 5, editing and cinematography choices. I gotta say, the editing of this movie is interesting at best. The first third of the movie is explaining the Mission Impossible saga and all of the 8 movies, and then trying to pull the team together and then explain what they did and where they came from and why they need them as part of the team, like extracting Paris from a prison. And it just seems to be so poorly put together that it took you out of the experience. Like, I get kind of getting maybe a quick refresh of the whole series as a whole, but it didn't have to take up the first 45 minutes of this movie and then just chop, chop, chop and be like, oh, why are we here now? Oh, wow, now we're over here now. Oh, Ethan's in this coffin with the AI. Oh, but we're going to forget that happened and just keep moving forward. The editing just seems so choppy, and I didn't think that it was as smooth as it could have been, especially for a movie with this high a budget, with this kind of punch being a Mission Impossible movie. Number 4, the characters and their overall development and arc throughout the last couple of movies. First off, Rebecca Ferguson just dying in the last movie out of nowhere just was so abrupt. And then you have Grace come out of nowhere, and she seems to be kind of the replacement for Rebecca. Now, there could have been drama behind the scenes, who knows, but I know a lot of folks really enjoyed Rebecca over the last several movies as a key part to this Ethan Hunt journey. And then you have Luther. Luther all of a sudden has a random sickness and then has a very strange and abrupt death in this movie. And then if they are introducing more character development, like maybe with Benji taking the lead as the team even more so, or Grace getting a rifle which looked like a British Enfield rifle and then running with it to go and maybe fend off from a polar bear attack. You never even see the polar bear. It just seemed to be that the character development and the overall arcs of all the characters were just abruptly just shrunken down or cut. Just like the editing, it just seemed to be cut short of where they could have gone, and you didn't get a lot of depth to any of the characters in this movie, and that, again, I think took you out of the movie a little bit. Number 3, tones and emotions. Now, this is kind of going along with the character development, but the overall tone of this movie, because it's so choppy and because the characters don't have a lot of depth to them in this particular film of number 8 of this saga, it just seemed like there wasn't a lot of a vibe with the team overall. The tone had a lot of misplaced humor. Maybe some of the jokes might have hit a little bit. I know I chuckled a little bit in the theater, but it seemed like it was pretty stale. It was very generic. And this whole theme of this movie is just more of a generic action film, which we were expecting, I think, a little bit more going into it. But the tone just seemed to kind of be a little flat. The comedy was misplaced. The humor could have been a little bit better. And then, of course, some of the elements from the emotional side where Tom Cruise playing Ethan usually had some sort of high stakes where he had to save someone or stop the world from exploding because he had a reason to do so. This one just kind of seemed like, oh, there's a bad guy and there's a bad entity. We're shutting it down, and we're just going to run around the globe doing so. And there wasn't really an emotional attachment to any of the characters where you felt kind of scared or you felt sad for any of them. Before we take a look at my picks for number 2 and number 1, if you're on the toilet right now, and we've all been there, first, hit that subscribe button. It's right down there. And also, wash your hands. It's important. Number 2, not because of the toilet, it's fine. Pacing and length. This movie is almost 3 hours long with a lot of bad pacing throughout. I thought that there were some lull points in there. I even got up at one point and went to get a refill of popcorn and a new drink, go to the bathroom, whatever I needed to do, and I missed like 1 minute of the movie. It just seemed like there was spots where you could predict when they're going to talk and explain what's going to happen next for about 5 minutes. And we talked about that earlier, but this is another pacing issue, I think, where if there's a lull, you're going to get kind of bored. At one point, and I kid you not, I was towards the right side of the theater there. It was one of the larger screens. It wasn't IMAX, it was like Dolby. I was towards the right there, and 2 seats over was another guy. And at one point, right before the submarine scene, he was actually, I can hear him snoring. And then a minute later, he's like, oh, whoa. It's just, if you can fall asleep during an action movie, I just feel like the pacing isn't well done. I enjoy an action movie that isn't just go, 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 go. And there's some nice build up in between and some good storytelling. But this one was too generic and didn't have the pacing that is required to fill those gaps and really keep you that interested. It just, again, goes along being very generic, possibly AI created. And finally, if you made it this far, this is number 1. The number 1 thing that I hated about this movie, and I think a lot of people felt the same way, this whole movie leading up to being the final reckoning, the finale of this 8-movie saga over almost 30 years, watching Ethan Hunt save the world. And I thought this movie ending with Ethan just coming out of the subway station and just meeting up with his team that he's had since the beginning of this movie, really, and not having anything special go on, and they all meet up and walk away in the distance, maybe part ways, maybe not. Either way, Ethan should have died or retired or something and set someone else up if they were planning on continuing the series, because if they aren't planning on continuing the series, then end it. Have him save the world, but sacrifice himself. You know, I just don't see why they wouldn't have pushed it that far in the story. Look at 007, the last Daniel Craig movie. I mean, I get it was kind of cheesy the way he kind of ended it, and there were a lot of plot holes with that one, but he ended Daniel Craig's reign as 007. Now, of course, we've waited a long time to figure out what happens next. But with this movie, there's already 8 movies out. It seemed like it could have been a good finale, and Ethan should have died or retired or something where he was not part of the scene anymore. But now it makes you seem like he's just going to keep on going and going and going. And that brings up a good point, because he should have retired. And not only that, he's already old in real life too. He's getting older, he's in his 60s. He doesn't need to be the action star. He could be a little more behind the scenes or training people or working for the IMF in a different way from a more like a management position or something, kind of training new trainees. And I just feel like he just wants to keep going into his 70s and 80s and just number 15, 16, 17, 18, who knows how many Mission Impossibles, but most likely it might not be any more, but they leave it open to consideration that there could be more. And that really irked me. Just because you're going into this wanting a grand finale and you didn't really get it, it kind of just fizzled out and became as generic as an action movie as you could possibly imagine in the end. I love the submarine scene, escaping through the torpedo tube. I love the airplane scene, even though there was kind of janky with the fact that they didn't have any guns to shoot Ethan off of the plane wing, or Ethan could have shot them and took over the plane. It just seemed like they kind of missed the boat on that one, but they wanted to have an epic visual effect, and they definitely succeeded on that. The stunt work in all the Mission Impossibles are fantastic, and usually it's a very clever movie. There's always something new and interesting and a new way to save the world or a new type of villain. This one just seems super generic, and that's why I thought there was about 7 reasons that were major points on why I didn't really think this was up to par. I did a full review on this movie already if you want to check it out, but we're new here. Movie Tactics is a brand new channel, so if you haven't hit subscribe yet, hit subscribe right down below. What are your thoughts on this Mission Impossible? Did I hit all of the marks that you kind of saw when you saw it? What's your favorite Mission Impossible movie, honestly? Just hit them down in the comments. I'd love to read those. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next movie review.